Hey everybody, Brandon here with another video tutorial for how to build your own route in Train Simulator 2015. This tutorial is going to be dedicated to everything about signaling. Now, signaling is very important on the railroad because it's not verbal, but visual instructions on how to drive the train, which speeds to approach certain signal points at, what speeds to take certain switches at. They're all visual cues on what to do, and if you disregard these visual cues, bad things can happen. So setting up proper signaling is very important. I've set up 4 scenarios, varying from very easy to intermediate to very difficult over here on the far right. We're going to go through all of them really slow, and it's going to take some time, but you're going to have a very thorough understanding of how signals work after this. Okay, so first step is accessing the signals. First, import your DLC that you want. I imported the original Northeast Corridor DLC because I like those signals. They actually work compared to the New York to New Haven ones. They just don't work. Object tools, track infrastructure, all your signals are listed here. I'm going to be using the NEC PCL Interlocking tall signals for this, so that's why I'm right here. Another thing, when you're picking a signal, you're going to want to pick a signal based on how many lanes there are. So what a lane is how many different possibilities you have when a train reaches the switch point. In this scenario, the train can either continue forward, that's one lane, or a train can take this left piece of track to go off to wherever. That's your second lane. Alright? So we're going to pick this signal that has 2 lanes. Once you've picked your signal and got it to where you want it, left click. This first arrow will pop up, and all this arrow is where AI trains will stop if the signal is a stop signal. So just place that in front of the signal a little bit. And now you get to the point where you can place the arrows for the individual lanes. So the first lane, as I said, is just continuing forward. That's your first possibility. So get it past the switch point a little bit, and then left click. Then the second possibility was taking the switch. So get it on the switch, left click. Okay? Now all your signal lanes are defined. At this point, you want to reorient your signal so it's facing the proper direction, and then left click on each of those arrows to get them to face the proper direction as well. Okay, now once we're finished with that, double click on the signal, and here's where you edit the speed limits for each lane. Now if the train is continuing forward, nothing changes, it's just going to have a normal indication. So we don't want to put anything in the properties for the first lane. It's just going to be governed by normal track speed. The second possibility, though, you do want to edit because it'll tell the train at which restricted speed to operate at when it's going over that curve. So let's just say that it needs to go no faster than 30 miles per hour. Okay? And now based on the number you put in here, will determine which type of indication appears on the signal. So for instance, on these Northeast Corridor signals, 30 miles an hour at this point will give you medium clear, which is red on top, green on bottom. 45 will give you red on top, flashing green on bottom, that's limited clear. There's a bunch of other possibilities too. Alright, so let me save my progress. There we go. Alright, so now what if there's a train coming in this direction, going that way, and it's approaching this switch point, but oh no, the switch is already popped so a train can go this way. If a train on this track collides into that switch point, it'll derail. So how do we deal with that? Well, we have to create another signal. But if the train's coming from this way, going that way, there's only one lane. It can't go this way and then back up over here. It can just go straight. So we're gonna pick one lane one head. Alright, and then get it past the switch point. And click. Okay. So now we'll edit the properties for this. There's really nothing you have to do for it, because if that switch is aligned in its favor so it can continue forward, it'll be clear. If it's not, it'll be a stop signal. It's as simple as that. And then you can do the same thing over here. Because if the switch is aligned for a train to go straight, and this thing is trying to get back on the main line, it'll derail as well. So another one of the same thing. Okay. This is just covering all bases. Alright. So now this is complete. Let's go into the scenario editor really quick and add a couple extra trains. Well, actually, no. Let's not for the time being. Alright. So we have all these signals that we just set up. I'm in this locomotive right before the switch point. And right now, I'm just continuing straight, so the signal is clear. Alright. Now if I click this switch point and make it so the train is going to go off on that secondary track, it switched to medium clear. Now once the train reaches that signal point, the speed limit will now become 30 miles per hour, because that's what we defined in the signal. Okay. Now you'll also notice that these signals are both stop signals because there's another train here, so we wouldn't want you to continue. Okay, so that's the very basic scenario. Now we have a little more difficult scenario. Not too much more difficult, but more difficult nonetheless. Okay, we have two parallel pieces of track with a regular interlocking going between them, so a train on any track can get to the other track. Going back into the signals, we need to figure out how many possibilities there are. So let's do it from a train in this perspective first. Well, first it could just continue straight on its own piece of track, or it could switch over here to the other track. Alright, so it's going to be 2 lanes. I'm going to do this really fast because we already went over how to place these. So let me get this set up really quick. And I'm figuring, yeah, we could do 30 miles an hour again for the switch point. Because I don't have a train over here, for the time being, I'm just going to leave this one alone. I'm not going to put anything there. But I will put one over here. Remember, first possibility goes straight, second possibility he cuts over. We'll do it for medium speed. 30 miles an hour. Alright. Now I want to do another thing down here. This is going to be an introduction to a different type of signal. Those are interlocking signals that we placed. They govern movement through the interlocking. But there's always going to be an advance interlocking signal of some kind to give you forewarning of what kind of signal to expect at the interlocking. And cool enough, for the Northeast Corridor route, they are named Advanced Interlock. So for these, let's just say I want to warn the train about the interlocking condition at this point. Just place an advanced interlocking signal and that's it. It'll pick up on what the interlocking signal is and then display its own indication based on that. Okay? So now let's run this scenario. Let me restart it to get all the signals reset. Alright, so now we're here. clear going this way, because it's not going to interfere with any trains. And then the same thing for the other train. It's clear going all the way through. Because the interlocking signal is clear, that advanced interlocking signal is also clear. Okay, so it's not going to have to prepare it for anything more restricting. Alright, so now let's say I want this train... Oops, excuse me. Sorry about this. Let's say I want this train to switch over there. Let me trip the switches. And then something interesting happens. It becomes a stop and proceed signal. It's because there's another train down there following this track. If there wasn't another train there, it would be medium clear because there's no other trains at the end. But there is a train, so I want you to stop and then proceed slow. Okay. Now you'll also notice that the signal over here for this train is approach. Now approach means to be prepared to stop at the next signal, and that's the correct indication because this interlocking signal is now stop. Alright, so to prepare it for a stop signal, it's saying, hey, the next one is probably going to be a stop signal. Alright, let's do another scenario with this. Alright, one moment. Just get everything back to normal. Alright, so now everything's back to normal. Each train is staying on its own track. Now what if I switch over here, but then switch back? What happens? Well, the train thinks it's staying on the same track the whole time, so it's just gonna stay clear. You'd never do that in real life or in the game, so don't worry about it. It really should be medium clear because you have to go across both switches at 30 miles an hour. But because you're technically staying on the same track once you come out of the interlocking, it's clear. Okay. Now again, if I removed this train and the train wanted to switch over, it would be just like in the previous scenario. It would be medium clear. But because there's another train fouling the tracks, it's showing a stop and proceed signal. Okay. So I hope that one makes sense. Now we're going to get into something more complicated. We got a possibility of 4 lanes now for a train in this direction. A possibility of 3 lanes for trains coming in this direction. But, oh no, a train here can only continue straight or switch to this track. It doesn't have a crossover to get to that track. So we have one scenario with 4 lanes, 3 lanes, 2 lanes. And we're going to also be doing some advanced interlocking stuff down there at the very end. That's what that gantry is for. Alright, so let's set up this interlocking. I'm going to be using a different type of signal this time. It's going to be one that you can mount on one of the masts. So for this train, actually no, it's not 4. It would be 4 if this train was over here, but it's not. So we can continue straight, we can switch over to that track, or we can switch over to that track. So there's 3 lanes here, I apologize. Place the stopping point all the way to the end of the interlocking. This is if it's continuing straight. This is if it switches over to that side, and this is for a switch over to that side. Let's rotate it around. And then click all the points. Alright, now we'll do the 30-mile-an-hour thing again, because these are pretty tight switches. 30, 30, because the second and third lanes are the ones that are different from the track it's already on. Alright, now you'd put other signals here too. put one here and one there, and based on the lanes. This one would just be one lane. Because it can't, there's no other place for it to switch over. So you get it to the end of the interlocking and bam. For that one. Alright, now let's do this side. We're going to do it for this track. For this train, hitting this point, he can continue straight. He can go onto that middle track, or he can go all the way over to that far left track. So it's 3-lane possibility here as well. Click, 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 click. Alright. And we'll do 30 miles an hour as well. And then we have a train over here on this track, so we'll set up one for this track as well. Now this one is 2 lanes. He can go straight, or he can switch over to the second track. Alright. So this is 2 lanes. Click, click. Alright, second lane, 30 miles an hour. Now we'll set up these advanced interlocking ones. The only train back here is this one, so we'll only set up this one. Advanced interlock, boom, boom. Alright, so now let's test it. So we're restarting the scenario to reset the signals. That's very important. Alright, so each train is on their own respective track. So they all have clear signals. Okay? That train's staying on this track, that train's staying on that track, and this train's staying in the middle track. So they all have clear signals. Alright, now what if I want this train to switch over here to that far left track? Can I do it? Of course you can do it. Trip this point. Trip that one. So now that one's aligned. Now at this point, this train, if it took it, would collide with that train at the end. So that's why this is a stop signal. Stop and proceed, to be exact. But now when we get it to go over to this side, it avoids this train completely. So now it should be medium clear, which it is. Okay? And now, because that train, if it took this interlocking to get over here, it's crossing over the path that this train wants to go in. So this becomes a stop signal, because it's like, hey, something is going to come across and follow this track, so you have to stop and wait for it to pass. So that's why that's a stop signal. And this is an approach signal because it's warning that this is a stop signal, because it's going to be crossing over onto its track. So there's a lot of variables that go into what signals become what. So let me drive this train really quick over the interlocking that we created with the signaling. Now once I hit this point, because it's medium clear, it's going to set a speed restriction of 30 miles per hour, okay? Because medium clear means to proceed at medium speed, 30 miles per hour, until the entire train has cleared the interlocking. So it's crossing over here just fine. That other train is stopped, because that's what it's being told to do. So we switch over. Okay, now we've cleared the interlocking completely. Alright. But oh no, why is this still a stop signal? Well, first we have to reset the switch points back to what it would be so this train won't derail. So I reset this one So now this train would switch over to that left track, hence why that's medium clear. If I... It's a little confusing, one sec. If I reset this one back to normal, it's just continuing straight, so it's clear. Starting to get how it works. Okay. So that's pretty much that with that scenario. Now we're on to this last hard one, okay? This one is difficult to grasp. It's got a bunch of combinations of interlockings and different lanes and possibilities and advanced interlocking and all that. It goes in a big loop too, which is pretty neat. Okay, so here's how you have to visualize it. So you're coming around, blah blah blah, everything's nice, straight, and clear until you hit this point. This is where your interlocking begins, because other tracks are combining with this one, so to speak. And then further down, you can switch over to the other tracks. So this is the beginning of your interlocking right here. Now how many lanes do we have? We have, you can continue straight, go to the middle track, or go to the right track. So this is a 3-lane scenario for this track right here. So let's pull up a 3-laner. Boom boom. Clicky clicky clicky. Okay. This one's going to take a while to set up, probably 10 minutes to set up this scenario. So just bear with me while I set it up for you. If you're coming from this track, you can either go straight or switch over to that other track. So this is a 2-lane. We're going to be doing all the signals this time. 2 lanes. Did I fix those? Yeah, I fixed those. I don't like it when it faces the wrong direction from the start. It just makes it so annoying. You gotta go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But that's the game. Okay. And we'll configure these signals in a moment. And for this one, you can switch over to this track or continue straight. So this is also a 2-lane. First lane straight, second lane switching over. Okay, so now this end of the interlocking is almost set up. So now again, let's say that the tracks we're switching to would be 30 miles per hour. Alright, so this part of the interlocking setup. It's not pretty with the signals, but forget that. Alright? Now this is the other end of the interlocking. So, this is very interesting, because you have these tracks that branch off to the opposite ends. So let's think logically about how many lanes we have for a train in this middle track. First, you can continue straight all the way through. Second, you could take this switch and continue straight. Third, you could take that switch and continue straight. Or 4, you could take this switch and then take this one. But oh no, once you're here, you're in another interlocking now. So what do we do about that? It's still going to be 4 lanes, because we're not going to take into account that other interlocking for these signals. So let's set that up. 4 lanes. First possibility, stays straight. Second possibility, he takes that switch but continues going forward. Third, he takes that switch and goes forward. And fourth, he takes this switch and then he takes this one. Okay. So, let's set that up. All these track properties now, the signal properties. Well, first one, he's going straight, we leave that alone. Second one, 30 miles an hour is fine. Third one, if he's just taking that switch, 30's fine. That fourth one, I want them to go restricted speed over there, so we'll set that to 20 for around this curve. But how do we deal with it when the train gets here? That switch point over there could be not aligned in his favor. So how do we set up a signal that would do the job for that? Let's get a 1 lane, 1 head. Because there's only one possibility. He can only continue straight. There's no other switch points for him to take. So it's as simple as that. If it's aligned in his favor, and there's no other trains that follow the track, it'll be clear. If not, it'll be stopped. Alright? That's how that works. We can actually do a demonstration of it right now if you'd like. Alright. So right now it's clear because... Oh wait, no, excuse me, this is... I gotta restart it. This was the previous scenario. It all looks the same. Okay. So where's my big loop? Alright, here's my big loop. Alright, as I said, he's on his own in this middle track. He's just continuing straight, so he's fine, and he's all dandy. Now let's have him switch over to this track over here. Should now be medium clear, which it is. But now let's have him switch over here. So now he's switching to this track and then taking that little turn. Now what is it? Now it's restricting. Just like I said, that's a 20-mile-an-hour thing, the restricting. So now when he gets over here, and part of restricting is watching out for stop signals. It's one of the parts of it. So he'd be actively looking out for a stop signal as well. And it is a stop signal. And the only reason it's a stop signal is because, well, there's two reasons. One, this switch point isn't aligned in his favor. Well, now it is. And now it's stop and proceed because of that train being there. If that train wasn't there, this would be clear now. But now, alright, it's not aligned in his favor, it's aligned for this train, so it's just a plain stop signal now, okay? That makes sense? How we got that to work? Okay. So, this train's cool. Let's continue setting up the other signals for this interlocking. And then we'll move on to another interlocking. So this one can continue straight. He could take this switch point and continue straight. Take that switch point and continue straight, take that switch point and take the turn, or continue straight and take the turn. So this is a 5-lane possibility right here. Alright, so first one, he's just going to continue straight. Second one, he's going to take this track and continue straight. Third one, take that track and continue straight. Fourth, take that curve. And fifth, take that curve. So it's pretty much the same thing as the last one, except you're throwing in that extra variable. So first one's continuing straight, second 30, 30, and then 20 and 20 for each of those curves. And we'll do the same thing with the single head signal and get it to the end of the interlocking. Right there. Knowing where to place those arrows is a crucial part in signaling. If you mess up on that, the whole thing is screwed up. Okay, so this one's set up now. Now let's set up this one. This one is just 2 lanes. Straight, take the curve. Very simple. Straight, or take the curve. Alright, so let's continue back over here. Now this is set up for the advanced interlocking signals. So let's get those up there right quick. Oops, wrong object. There we go. So these advanced interlocking signals are very easy to set up. They're literally just click in place because they pick up the data from the interlocking signal. Okay, so now if you were coming this way, these are going to be the advanced interlocking signals for that interlocking. So we'll throw those up real quick. This is all going to come together in a few minutes once I have all these signals placed and set up and get these trains moving. Okay. Now we have this last interlocking to take care of. Now this is a special interlocking because it goes off in a bunch of crazy directions, and then if you take this branch, and then you can go straight through here and take all these other ones, and it's just crazy. So let's plot out, starting with this rightmost track, your possibilities. First one, continue straight. Second takes this track, this switch, and continues straight. Third takes this switch and that switch and continues straight. So as I said, this is 3 lanes. Straight, that track, that track. Alright, so first possibility, second possibility, third possibility. $30, $30. Okay, that's good. Now the second track, you can either go straight or you can take that one. So this is only 2 lanes. Pretty simple here. It's going to be the next one that's a little interesting. Okay. So now this third one, we can continue straight all the way. We could take this switch and continue straight, or we could take that curve and go around. So we have 3-lane possibility here. So all the way through straight, I mean all the way through, and then all the way through taking that switch, and then this one is all the way back here. Okay. There we go. Just want to make sure I got this one right, because now I'm having doubts for some reason. Alright, yeah, that's fine. Alright, excellent. So now this one's all taken care of too. 30, 20. So this end of the interlocking is set up now. So now we have to do this end of the interlocking. First possibility, going straight. Second possibility, taking this switch, going straight. Third possibility, taking both these switches and continuing straight. Fourth possibility, taking that curve. So this is a 4-lane. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. Alright. These are going to be a pain in the butt because I have to turn them around manually and all that junk. So this will just take a couple more minutes to set up, and then we can get to testing. Alright. Save that just in case there's another crash. Alright. Second track. Straight. Take this track. Take that switch. Take that switch. So this is 3 lanes. And sometimes that'll happen when you start clicking the points. The signal will teleport to where you are. You're just gonna have to drag it back. Okay. And this last one is 1 lane because he has no other places to switch over. So this is just 1 lane, 1 head. Alright, and then after this one, you just have a couple sets of advanced interlocking signals to set up. So this gantry will be advanced interlocking for those signals, and that gantry will be advanced interlocking for those signals, okay? So let's just place these really quick. Boom, 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 boom. Turn them around. Signals are a lot of manual labor. Alright, so now we're pretty much finished laying the signals. And we have some trains that we can play with. So let's get to experimenting. I don't really know how we're going to experiment with all this yet, but we'll do it. We're going to take some time. And now I'm going to set some crazy signal stuff. So we got this train. Let's have it switch tracks here. Have it switch over here to that track. Wow, look at that crazy path that it's plotting. That's insane. Alright, so now it's going to stay on that track until it comes over here. Once it reaches this point, I'll have it continue on this track straight all the way through. Then when it reaches this point, I'll have it continue straight. It's actually I'm gonna have to do these on the fly because each change I make will interfere the current path. That's interesting. Alright, so we have a restricting signal right now, so once I pass that point, my speed limit will be 20, as it just did. So now we're gonna switch over to that little loop curve thingamabob. Alright, so we're switching over now, and then we'll switch over a second time. Right here. And we have a clear signal merging onto the main line. Okay. So we're good here. Let's speed up a bit. Alright, while I'm speeding up, let's switch things around once I get up here. So I'll be on this outside track. Let's switch over here. So that's good. Now I'll be on that track in the middle. Alright, so we'll be on that middle track, and then we'll switch it up again. So I'm approaching a signal, the advanced interlocking signal, so let's see what it tells us. It says, approach medium, which means that at the interlocking, we're going to have medium clear, which is telling us to switch over at 30 miles per hour. So I'm going to slow down to 30 right now in preparation for that. That's the whole point of advanced interlocking, to get you down to that speed. Okay, so now I'm at 30 miles per hour. We should have limited clear, medium clear, which we do. So now my speed limit will become 30. I'll switch over. So now I'm good. Now let's plot our next one. So I'm going to come around here in the middle. Now what can I do? Well, up here I could switch back to that track. Go around again. And I could stay on this track. And then once I do, I don't want to go too fast. Alright. It's gonna be bumpy. But I won't derail. I'll be fine. I hope. I hope I don't derail. Okay, cool. We're not gonna derail. Alright, so we have approach medium. So I'm gonna get down to 30 miles an hour. And we have medium clear. So we know we're gonna be switching tracks here. Alright, so while we get that settled, I'm gonna path my next attack. So when I come back around, I'm gonna be on that inside track. So let's use this loop, de-loop. And then once I come around and past that point, I'll flip this one. Actually, just to show you, let me flip it right now. Whoa, the game did not like that. It just crashed. It can't handle it. This is a pretty crazy signaling thing, and it's been crashing non-stop since we started putting the signals on this one. And I already verified my game files, everything checks out. So it's just it's a bug with the game. But I hope you get the point. I'm not gonna go back and continue because that's just lunacy. It's crazy. But I hope you get the point. Got a lot of good content recorded there. Thanks for putting up with the crashes. I'm gonna have to splice this video up quite a bit in order to get it so it doesn't look like I'm totally incompetent. Alright, thanks, and watch out for further videos.